This is Sportish.
Do it better.
This is Sportish. This is Sportish. This is Sportish. This is Sportish.
This is Sportish. It's the show about sports, at least ostensibly, and we started during a global sports shutdown because that's the kind of people that we are. I'm Geoff Brault. Dr. Keith Strudler is my co-host. He runs the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State University. Our producer is Mike Wallace. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the For the Fans Network, or perhaps you're catching it a couple days later as a podcast. Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever podcasts are served, the audio version of this show is right there. So, Keith, we were actually just talking before we turned the microphones on about how much we're both enjoying the basketball that's being played in these bubble playoffs.
Yeah, it's been real. We said this before. I think the quality of play has been higher than I can remember. There's probably some reasons for that. They're not traveling. There's obviously very few distractions. I think the camaraderie that they're able to build living in the bubble together, I think it kind of probably adds a certain element of teamwork, togetherness. And I think in some ways just the intensity of the moment has kind of translated into kind of a higher form of art, for lack of a better way of putting it. I just feel as if the basketball is somewhat inspired. I mean, and the most recent game that I will refer to as the game 2 of the Lakers Nuggets game, which had me waking up the entire house when Anthony Davis hit that 3-pointer from like 70 feet away. I swear his foot was on the line, though. And by the way, how hateable are the Lakers right now?
I mean, well, I want to go back to the fact that you think it was a 70-foot shot. How far do you think the 3-point line is?
That's something like, I don't know, 50. It's a yards or feet. A
70-footer. You think he threw that in
shot
from the other free throw line?
He did. What was interesting is they won the game, and then they awarded him the car as well. By the way, have you ever seen anyone win, throw it from, get it in from all the way across and win the big
I've actually
thing?
seen it happen live.
Yeah,
I've seen it happen. Yeah. Not only on tele. I mean, there's lots you can Google it, but I've seen it happen live.
I'm talking about, live, yeah. And I'll tell you what, I understand arenas get rowdy, hit a game-winning shot. An NBA arena is never louder than when the guy hits the half-court chart for the car. I mean, that's it.
Never.
That's the peak.
And the best part about it is there are clips on the internet of people doing it, and guys from the huddle, players during the timeout, will run out and celebrate with them. Like Steph Curry's done it. LeBron's done it. I mean, these guys will what would you rather have, right? You had a half-court shot to win a car. Let's say it's just a middle-of-the-road car, right? This isn't a car that you're going to, have some sort of $70,000 retail
Mazda
value.
of some sort, yeah.
So I wasn't going to disparage a potential sponsor, but now that you did, let's say it's a Mazda.
It's a solid.
So
you're like your Red Lobster of automobile.
That's honestly a tremendous. I actually feel like every Mazda comes with like a 50% off coupon to Red Lobster.
Some Cheddar Bay biscuits.
So I actually can't speak ill of the biscuits. The Cheddar Bay biscuits are really, really good.
Cheddar Bay biscuits are good.
And if you know one thing about me, it's that I'm not the biggest fan of chain restaurants.
Yeah.
But those biscuits are darn delicious.
Yeah.
So would you rather have, Keith, the half-court shot go in and you win the middle-of-the-road car? Or would you rather have the half-court shot go in, you don't get the car, but you do get to celebrate with, say, LeBron James, and the whole arena goes crazy, but you don't get a prize?
But they're not – so there isn't a prize at the end of it, but the prize – but I still do get the exhilaration of making the shot.
100%? Yeah.
I'd want to be palling around with the with the superstars. I mean, is it the Lakers? I don't want if it's the Nets, I might take the car. But if we're talking about the Lakers, the Rockets,
that's interesting. So what's the line of NBA superstar where the car becomes more attractive, right? Because I'm guessing if it's any of the major names, you take them.
Yeah.
Where's the line? Who's the last guy that you're like, you know what? I'd hang out with Dame Lillard, but maybe not so much PJ Tucker.
I think the Dallas, the Mavericks are kind of the bottom tier. That's That's kind of
Luka. You wouldn't celebrate with
Luka's
Luka?
high. Yeah. No, I'd love to. I'm saying that he's in.
And let me tell you, you know who I think he'd be a better celebration? Boban. Boban might be in my top 5 of guys I'd want to celebrate with.
You know, I have a shooting from the floor story. I have a halftime story. You know that, right?
I do not know that. No.
I have a Marist halftime. You don't know this? This was before your Marist time.
It must have been.
So it may have been my first year. I was 29, 30 years old, something like that. I just started working there. I went to a lot of the basketball games, and someone came up and grabbed me because at that point there weren't always that many people to stand. So like, you want to shoot, free throws at halftime, and I was like, sure, I'd love to. And it was me and some other guy who I think was also another professor. We both, and I was a bricklayer. I mean, I maybe hit, 25 seconds. I maybe hit 2 free throws. And I was like, that was awful. This other guy, he may have never seen a basketball before. Nothing. So they're like, you're on to the final round. And I'm like, I am on to the final round. So now they give me a date to come, and they're like, you're going to shoot for the big prize. I'm not really sure what the big prize is, but I am now very excited. I'm going to be competing against other winners, other people who have won at other games, and shoot for the whole thing, right? So that's what it is. So
okay.
I, by the way, a first-year professor, I am now telling every student in every one of my classes, I'm going to be shooting for the big prize. So
that's an amazing confluence of ego and lack of performance. And like, what would I rather have? People there to see me, or I am coming off a 2 free throw make. There is some risk in the potential.
But I wasn't going to let it be left to chance. I went to the gym almost every day. I went to the McCann Center, and I was money from the free throw line. Absolutely money. So I am automatic now from the free throw line.
We call that, by the way, building the Dr. Pepper can in the backyard. When they throw the football into the Dr. Pepper can at the Peach Bowl every year or whatever, that's what. So you built the Dr. Pepper can is what you did.
I'm at the McCann. I'm at the Gray Gym. I'm shooting. I'm so confident. I actually left a work conference a day early because I was like, look, I know I'm presenting. I've got a free throw thing. So I get there. And you don't realize until you're down on the floor how many people there are in the stands. You kind of look up all of a sudden, and then there's a couple thousand people there. Mm-hmm. It feels more, especially when now people are cheering for you. Yeah. And the intensity for the moment. It was one thing when I got dragged down there, like shoot some free throws. There's no pressure. Now, all of a sudden, I'm worked up for this moment, and I know this is the big moment. And, of course, I get selected to go first. So I figure they're going to haul me out to the free throw line, have me shoot. They go, here's the deal. Layups, free throws, three-pointer, half-point shot. I was like, excuse me?
Oh, no, they did not. Just when you thought you had all the answers, they went and changed the questions.
In the course of 30 seconds, I hit one layup.
So now,
one layup.
But if all you had done to prepare was shoot free throws, why wouldn't you just shoot free throws?
The whole thing, you don't understand the psychology of it. And I think there were some rules. Like, I think it was like you had to hit a free throw, a layup. I mean, free throw. A layup, a free throw, a three-pointer, and then a half court. That was what you had to do to win this thing. I had no idea what the rules were going to be. So I get out there. They're like, all right. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to shoot free throws. They're like, no, you go layup, free throw, three-pointer.
Like it was in order.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hit one layup. That was it. And by the way, it wasn't the first layup I threw up either. It took me a while to get the layup. It was an unmitigated disaster. And my feet felt heavy when I was out there. Like I felt like I couldn't walk. So it was a very humiliating, embarrassing experience. From that point forward, I have never razzed a single person that goes down to shoot the ball. The ones that shoot it either over the basket or like 20 or 30 feet short, I totally understand. Your arms feel like molasses when you walk out there.
Here's what's coming up on this edition of Sportish. So we began this show when all the sports shut down, and we've kind of been chronicling each as they come back. Well, we didn't think there'd be Big Ten football this year because Big Ten told us there wouldn't be. Turns out everyone was wrong. And there will be Big Ten football. It's coming back. We're going to talk about the protocols that they have in place because, Keith, they've really become the only league that has a truly stringent protocol that might actually work. We're also going to talk about the fact that over the weekend, two of our favorite sporting events happened. One that you like, the Tour de France, and
Yes.
one that I like, the United States Open for golf. The other of us have zero interest in either of those two events,
Nope.
and we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. Plus, we're gonna talk about a $1.8 million sale of a Giannis card and why that's made some news in the basketball world. And Keith, I think you're going to be a little surprised at how much that card sold for the first time and what happened with that sale. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. Let's start with the Big Ten. So they have decided that they will have a football season. And depending on who you talk to, their return to play in late October is either one, a great victory for those who believe in the return to normality, or two, the single worst thing that has ever happened in the history of the world. The truth probably lies somewhere in the middle there. But look, I think when you look at the plan that the Big Ten has put in place, daily testing, they are the only collegiate league doing daily testing. They have a person at every member institution who is in charge of the COVID-19 protocols, an independent person who is overseeing this whole thing. A 5% positive rate in a team triggers a shutdown. And for a football team, by the way, a 5% positive rate, it's 5 guys, give or take.
It's one dorm room. It's basically.
Oh, it could be, depending on the size of the dorm room. They also have rules in place where sports have to shut down if the campus itself reaches a certain amount of positive tests. If anyone tests positive, it's a 21-day removal from competition, which is much longer than most other leagues, which are 7, 10, 14 days, depending on where we're talking. So I think, Keith, when you put all this together and you look at the plan, I think it works. I really do. I feel like they're going to have a great chance to safely have a season. Now, whether the numbers allow them to have an entire season, we'll see. But I feel okay about this safety plan that's in place. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good about it. And both of us, we were pretty off on the NCAA and their member institutions, both appetite and ability to construct a full season. And I think so, at least to start it and get it. I mean, I think they've already gotten a few weeks in, and I understand the SEC is just getting rolling, and, we've had some hiccups along the way. I do believe that they are going to get potentially all the way through this, including a playoff. I don't know that every team is going to play every game. In fact, some teams already have not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I think they've done a really good job. Why they decided to change this decision, whether this was based on science or political and donor and student pressures, it's kind of a side issue, I suppose. I think what the dichotomy, though, in response, and obviously some people are like, this is fantastic, and some people are like, yes, this is the worst thing. I mean, and by the way, there are overreactions on both sides. The people are like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. I feel like they probably need to read some history books, and the people that I mean, it really
or honestly, a newspaper. Like, it's not the worst thing that's happened in the world this week.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. Yeah. So I think everyone is getting far too dogmatic and too excited about this. And let's see what happens. I think part of this is because this decision has become kind of embolic of the larger conversation about COVID, whether or not we should be taking it seriously or whether we can resume life as normal. And I think some people are reacting to the idea of, well, we shouldn't be playing football because that is almost the signal that life is back to normal. We should be focused on stopping the disease. And at least my perspective is that we should be able to do both. And it is okay. And leaving the aside, are these athletes taking too great a risk? Although they seem to be doing a really good job at mitigating that risk. I really think it becomes kind of a destructive conversation when we have to be so dogmatic on either side that we can't both mask up, do everything we can to live smart and try to get through to the point where we have a vaccine and we can start really dealing with the virus and still have something akin to life as normal. And college football is a big part of that for a lot of people. And so I wish we could, like a lot of things in this world, I wish we could examine that middle ground. So I think that's one of the things that people are so kind of uptight about. The other is I think there are some people that take offense to the fact that these athletes are getting such good testing protocols and the rest of these campuses are not. Yeah. And, that is, I hate to say it is what it is, but the reality is college football players are treated differently than other people on campus and they contribute differently. So that's part of a larger narrative, but I think that's rubbed some people the wrong way.
So I think along the lines of the daily testing, look, if your end all be all goal is play a football season as safely as possible, the daily testing is a must have.
Yeah.
And I think that will give the Big Ten a chance to not see the positivity rates that a lot of these other colleges. I mean, heck, LSU coach Ed Orgeron comes out and says that his entire team has gotten the virus. Like, Ed, what are you doing, man? You can't say the quiet part loud. And he just comes out. He's like, all my guys have had it.
Well, no, say it in his voice. Oh my God, man.
Oh my guys have had it. Go Tigers.
I'll tell you what, I did not know he was a doctor, but he is he's an exciting figure. It's hard not to like him.
Brief aside, you walk into a doctor's office to see a doctor you've never seen before, and he talks like Coach O. Do you finish the appointment? If he comes, all right, Keith, hop up on this table for me.
Is this in like New York or New Jersey? Or that's like what is that? Louisiana Justice? Remember the SNL skit, Louisiana?
Oh, I don't. All right, Keith, just turn your head and cough for me. Just turn your head and cough.
Where Sudeikis is the judge, and it's like, it's Maine Justice. And somehow, like, all of these, I guess it was like refugees from Louisiana had all come up to Maine. They had settled there. And so it was like a Judge Judy. It was like a Maine courtroom. And they're like, this is Maine Justice. We got the Gators out in the... You've never seen Maine Justice?
Never seen it, no.
You got to watch Maine Justice.
I've never seen it. But back to the important point, which, I mean, let's face it, watching Maine Justice might be the important point. But the second most important point is I think, if you want to be upset about something, don't be upset about the fact that the players are getting daily testing and that they're getting preferential treatment because they're football players. Fair case if you want to be upset at the fact that these institutions are spending between $700,000 and $1 million in order to pay for those tests. That's an awful lot of money to be paid so that you can possibly have a college football season.
Yeah, I guess the counter side of that is, what does it cost to not play? And I think there were starting to be some real opportunity costs to not playing. And it's not just the money that they're losing, because they're probably losing money no matter what, because they're not bringing in gate revenue. So it's a matter of how much do they want to lose. It does seem as though there were going to be some real risks financially to some of these schools, particularly these Power 5 conferences, not fielding a season, or not fielding teams for a season, and while other teams did, and they have the playoff and they collect revenue, it seemed like there were going to be some potential real disastrous impacts, including, look, there is not a single Olympic sport. There's not a single sport that I could have ever participated in that is safe on a college campus at this point. And so we've seen a decent number. I mean, programs are getting cut all over the place, and not bringing in football money, whether people like it or not, is going to give athletic directors license to do what they need to do to balance the books.
The other thing that people are upset about in the Big Ten's return to play plan is that they feel that the athletes who, let's be honest, are most likely, if you look at what's happened with athletes in the game of football across the rest of the nation, some of them are going to test positive for the virus. Yep. They are using those students that are theoretically going to test positive and essentially using them as a test case for how COVID affects the heart and what it does for, certain cardiovascular diseases. And people feel like that's not ethical to do that with an amateur athlete. And the other side of the coin is they're also getting world-class medical care that other people don't have access to. So again, I think it comes down along, use the word dogma, which I think is the right word. It comes down along these dogmatic lines. If you believe that playing football right now is a terrible and offensive thing to do, you're going to look at that and say that it's horrible. And if you're the type of person who believes that we can live in this moment and play football under some safety protocols, you're going to look at that and go, well, good for them. They have medical care. But there are some people that are upset about that. Again, these are amateur athletes. These are not professionals that are being asked to go out and do their job. They are ostensibly college students who they're thrown into the lion's den here.
Yeah. The vast majority, though, it does seem as though have asked and advocated to play. And whether you think that's to be the dividing line or not is up to your perspective. But the vast majority have. I mean, a lot of this momentum came because athletes in the Big Ten said, hey, why are they playing and we're not?
Yeah, I just don't think that's a great argument, because how often do your kids ask for ice cream for breakfast?
And they get it. And they get it.
Well, I take it back then.
By the way, let me tell you one of the smartest business decisions any small business owner can make. If you own an ice cream truck, which is a dream business, you want to park it right outside a soccer field when teams are getting ready to finish their games. It is an unmitigated moneymaker.
Sure.
I mean, it's incredible. So that happened this week.
You think owning an ice cream truck is a dream business?
It's not bad. If it's the softy ones, the Mr. Soft, the ones that where not only can you give out the bars, but you can make the sundaes and
believe you me, there's nothing I love on this earth more than a nice soft serve ice cream truck. I just don't know that the margins are so high in that business that it makes it a dream enterprise.
It's a volume business, clearly. But is there any business? I was about to say something highly politically incorrect. Is there any business?
Was it prostitution? It was prostitution, wasn't it? Yeah, nailed that. It's the world's oldest profession for a reason.
I was gonna say where your customers are so happy to see you.
There's actually another very illegal business where that is true.
Sure. We call them drug dealers.
That would be them. Yeah.
I will say on those, particularly on the latter, the margins are higher.
Yeah. To be fair, in both of those price lists.
Yeah. Yep. Is that was not on the run?
That sure wasn't. But you were going to say something. You were going to go, is there a business where your customers are happier to see you than an ice cream man?
Yeah, ice cream man one. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's tough to find one.
Here's something I actually wonder about the whole, the coolest thing, at least to me, about when you were a kid and the ice cream truck came by was the fact you didn't know it was coming and it played that song and you have to like run out of your area. Oh my God. And you run out of your house and you go see it. We live in the age of mobile food, right? Food trucks have never been hotter. How come adult food trucks don't do that with other things? Because I got to tell you, as a 33-year-old man who hasn't had dinner yet, we record these podcasts on Monday night. If I heard the taco truck outside, my ass is out the frame. I mean, I am out the door getting some carnitas tacos right now. Like,
can you imagine if you are like, kid, you just got to carry it. Let me talk to you about the U.S. Open, folks. I feel like the one time I walked out of the studio, I mean, this was a serious thing because Elliot, my youngest child, who at that point was probably about 4 or 5, was having a seizure. I mean, I don't like to laugh about it, but there was
did happen, yeah. That did happen at our old radio show, and it was me and Mike Wallace, our producer, who had to do about 30 minutes of radio.
Guys, which hospital should I go to? I think Elliot might want to go to he's having a seizure. Not to make everyone's fine. The good news is everyone's fine.
Yeah, I like that. Actually, beautifully underscores where we're at in our respective lives. You had to leave a broadcast because your child had a serious medical emergency. I would consider it for tacos.
Both emergencies. Because talking about opportunity cost. Think about the loss you would experience if that taco truck went by and you couldn't get to it.
Oh. God,
then the rest of the night, all you'd be thinking about, because doesn't that happen? Like sometimes when you wanted to get something for dinner and for whatever reason you couldn't get it, you missed the exit, whatever it is, and you end up and you eat something else. The whole time you're eating that something else, you're thinking 100%. About, like, man, I really wanted those slices. Like I really,
and
I absolutely wanted that slice.
You know what gets me? What gets me is when like you get a craving for something that's really bad for you, right? And you know it's bad for you, and you kind of talk yourself out of getting it because you're like, oh, I haven't been eating good this weekend. I need to have something a little better than that. Yeah. That to me is the worst denial, is when you get it in your head like, gosh, I could really go for a double cheeseburger right now. And I know you're a vegetarian, but like just, when you get to that level of just, I want that thing that's just so awful but so good, and you deny yourself it, and you're like, oh, guess I'll have a salad. That is the most disappointing meal of the week.
Well, but as you know, since I live in a constant state of denial of what I allow myself to of human pleasure.
True. Yes, only happy when you're unhappy. That's correct.
But also, I don't eat any meat. I don't wear any leather, and I don't drink. So these things largely leave me void of all happiness. I don't deny myself other things. So if I want to eat an entire sleeve of Oreos, I'm all in.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a vice. Like you might trade the tequila for the chocolate cookies, but
the other thing I've noticed, as long as we're going down this road, is increasingly I'm like, who ate all these M&Ms? Hey, and they're like, we didn't touch them, and you realize that
it was you,
because you don't think about cumulative. You're like, someone ate. This is a brand new bag of Oreos. They're almost all gone now, and then you realize, woo.
We had a great segue in there, and then we got sidetracked on delicious food that we like. So you had brought up, I'm going to talk to you about the U.S. Open. So two major sporting events, global sporting events, happened over the weekend. One that you care about very much, the Tour de France.
Deeply.
And one that I care about very much, the U.S. Open in golf. Neither of us has any interest. I mean, less than zero interest in the other, right? I didn't watch a second of the Tour de France. I'm guessing you didn't see a single shot of the U.S. Open.
No, I wasn't even aware it was happening until it was pretty much over.
Sure. I same with the Tour. The only reason I knew it was happening is because you told me you wanted to talk about it in last week's episode, and I said absolutely not. Now, look, your dream's about to come true. We're going to talk about the Tour de France, but here's the problem. Only I'm going to talk about the Tour de France. And then the flip side is only you are going to talk about the U.S. Open, right? Okay. So I'll go first with the Tour de France, right? And I'll give you what I believe is the vital recap of one of the most thrilling
endings in the long and storied history of the world's greatest cycling race.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it was downright stunning that Slovenia's Tadej Pogačar got the win. And he did it in something of come from behind fashion, because on the penultimate stage, which means second to last, not a college professor, but I still know that. The penultimate stage, Tadej Pogačar, who, by the way, is the first Slovenian to ever win the Tour de France. So shout out Slovenia.
And by the way, Slovenia now goes 1-2 in the Tour.
They do. They absolutely do. Because in that penultimate stage, Tadej Pogačar beat another Slovenian who was the race favorite, Primož Roglič, in what is known as a time trial.
What accent are you trying to use?
I'm working so hard on the consonants. I don't have time for the accents. Pogačar just absolutely shredded this second to last stage, right? And had one of the most dramatic late Tour comebacks in the history of the event. How thrilling was his comeback in the 22.5 mile run in the second to last stage of the Tour de France? Well, Keith, hold on to your hats, because this man over a 22-mile ride
You're denigrating the sport.
Deficit of 57 seconds. I mean, that is just an unbelievable 57 seconds. That's almost a minute.
That is the average time that people watch Sportish, I believe.
So he seizes the yellow jersey, which is given to the person who's in first place in the Tour de France. And with only one stage to go, 21-year-old Slovenian Tadej Pogačar is leading the Tour de France. And all he's got to do now is ride into Paris, down the Champs-Élysées, past the Arc de Triomphe, and take victory, right? Wrong, because he didn't even finish top 3 in the last stage, but still won. Because the last stage of this stupid event isn't even basically part of the event. It counts, but all the competitors agree that they don't actually take it seriously until the very end.
That's right.
The very end, when then they ride really fast, and then some dude from Ireland won, but he didn't win. He just won that, and he was all happy, like, I can't believe I won that. It's the greatest highlight of my life.
Because he won the green jersey. He won the green jersey.
But he didn't win.
I didn't actually watch the last stage. I
won.
But yes, the last stage, there are no trading. You do not race for the overall for the grand champion in the final stage, because it's not how it works. Because there's chivalry.
And why does it exist? What other sport? Could you imagine if they played Game 7 of the NBA Finals and Team A won, and then Team B was the champion because they won Game 6?
Could you imagine though if after Game 6 they're like, you know what, Game 7's not good. We're gonna play this one to a draw. Whoever won Game 6 is the champ. No, but if you understood anything about anything, you would also understood.
I understand a lot about a lot, but nothing about cycling because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It's also an unnecessary. It's just exercise.
I was going to ask you something. Tell me something interesting about the penultimate stage. It was a time trial, which you failed to.
Yes.
Well, you didn't add that.
I said
trials,
it. Yes.
I don't think
I said
you
time
did.
trial. Yeah.
I don't think.
I said it.
What's different about a time trial than a normal stage?
It doesn't matter who finishes first. It matters how quickly you finish the stage.
Yeah. They don't start together. They start at 2-minute intervals. It's
right.
the race. It's the race of truth. It's the race of truth. It reveals who you are. You must ride on. Now, what was remarkable?
By the way, there's nothing more boring than a race where they're not really racing.
That is true. I'll tell you what I watched. You know what I've gotten really. I love the time trials. What was really interesting was they traded bike. They actually changed their bike during this time trial because the last few miles were dead uphill, 20% incline.
20%? Lunacy.
I would pay any amount of money to see you try to ride one stage on the Tour de France. I would pay
any amount of money to see you play golf.
I'll play golf.
People or on camera.
Oh, I'll play golf. Let me put it this way. I'll say this right now. I would be so much better at golf than you would be at cycling.
That's not true. I can actually ride the bike.
Oh,
you may not advance the ball.
No.
I could get the bike rolling in a forward direction.
You don't think in my youth I was forced to play golf at some point?
I'm sure you were. But I don't think you were forced to play it well. Now, I actually have a very important question. How do you pronounce the name of the guy who won? Because I'm guessing Tadej Pogacar is not correct.
I actually forget. It really wasn't Pogacar. I think you're correct, actually.
Really? I nailed that?
I think you did.
I mean, I'm decent with like names and accents.
I think you know. Now, but what was impressive was they changed bikes. He's only 20, turned 22 the day after the race.
I believe the youngest winner of the Tour since the early 1900s.
And what was it? So the fact that the yellow changed on such a dramatic uphill finish was remarkable. It's fantastic. The one that was more dramatic than that was when Greg LeMond actually did win on the final stage when they made the ride into Paris not a group stage, but a time trial. And it was the first time he debuted aero bars, which changed the entire nature of the sport. Are you happy now that we've lost? We may have had 5 fans of this show that were cycling fans, and now they're not watching either because of what you've done. Are you happy with yourself?
I'm okay with that. Highest finishing American, Sepp Kuss in 15th place.
Yes, that's a very good finish. Yeah. He's young.
Woo! I've given you a wonderful recap of the Tour de France. Now I would like my recap of the United States Open Championship.
All right, here's what happened in the U.S. Open, which I believe is the one where you can earn your way into playing, right? In most years you can, but this year because of coronavirus, all the qualifiers got canceled, so that really didn't happen. But generally speaking, right? That's where qualifiers play their way in. Yes. This year, the U.S. Open wasn't quite so open. All right. And did they play it out in Long Island in that fancy course out there? No, they actually played this one in a fancy course in Westchester County called Winged Foot. Yes. Okay. All right. Mamaroneck, New York. Oh, I know. Sure, of course. Mm-hmm. So here's what happened. A bunch of rich guys went up to Mamaroneck. That's true. So far, so good. They got their golf carts. They got the beer cart was out there. They played. They went out there. They went to the range a little bit first, right? Mm-hmm. I believe they were playing shotgun style, so they all went to their holes then. Okay. You played in one charity golf tournament one time and think that's how they all work? I played in many charity golf tournaments. I've told you, don't think that I was spared this, all right? I was dragged out to many, and sometimes when you have to golf with the boss's son, it's not a good experience for them either. Nice shot, Keith. Great shot. Yeah, we'll play your ball. Yeah, I gotta imagine 5 hours with you as a chore, regardless of what's happening. Hey, do you guys got sandwiches on those carts? If I give you an order, so So they all went out. They went to their shotgun. Everyone turned on their TV hoping Tiger would win. When they realized he wasn't going to, people stopped watching. Someone didn't hit a hole in one. We watched some bogeys. We watched some awful golf. We watched a birdie. Someone walked down the fairway. It was his moment in the sun. He was smiling. His wife was there. She was wearing a mask. His kids were crying. And it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And he put on not a green jacket, but whatever color jacket they give out for the PGA tournament.
No jacket. No jacket. It's a medal. It's a medal.
So he put on his giant medal and he held it up like it's Simba.
Actually, a very small medal. It's smaller than an Olympic medal.
And then, here's the big twist of fate. Oh my God, he forgot to sign his card with the right hand. And now they're going to disqualify him. So they've picked the 8th place finisher who's going to be, because in golf, the decorum is the next 6 finishers must fall on the sword in homage to the defeated winner. And so they give it to the 7th or 8th place finisher who is now king of the golf world. Is that correct? Is that what happened?
So first of all, the thing I'm most upset about is that I at least had the respect for the Tour de France.
You called it exercise.
Which is competitive exercise. I gave it enough respect to actually read about the results. I spent minutes, upwards of 5 minutes learning about the Tour.
You were literally doing it while we were on air. I watched you.
You couldn't extend the same courtesy about the United States Open Golf Championship.
You know,
it was won by an American. Yeah. You couldn't even give the respect to a fellow countryman for a sporting accomplishment. Whereas I'm over here talking about Tadej Pogacar from Lord knows where in the Soviet bloc. And
you know why? Because you're pressuring me to start this thing so you can go watch Mediterranean Below Deck. If you know I was right,
they might be pulling into Slovenia. Tadej Pogacar might be on this episode.
Would not be.
But you like if I said who won the U.S. Open, you don't even know. You have no idea.
I have no idea. Why would I know that? I wasn't watching it there. Yesterday, there was the Tour. There was my kids had a soccer game, so I unlike you have to give time to people other than myself. And by the way, they didn't play well. They didn't play well, so it wasn't a real happy day for anyone in the family after that. I mean, we did not perform. We were only down 1 with about 10 minutes, and then the floodgates opened up. It was a very poor performance. Then I hope none of the parents are watching, but yet those kids sure are cute. They with a lot of heart. So then what else was that? We got the Emmys. I had to watch some of the Emmys, so I had to gear up for that. Andra wanted to watch the red carpet, even though it wasn't really a red carpet. It was just people on Zoom. And then we had the NBA, and then there was football on too. I watched some of the Chiefs game. That was pretty good. I'm not going to watch the U.S. Open. I actually would much rather watch NFL football than, and you know how my ambivalence towards the NFL. I'd still rather watch the NFL than watch even a minute. Every minute I spend watching. You know what I watched yesterday, actually? I watched a replay of a track and field meet from Brussels.
Good God. What is it with exercise that captivates you so?
The diamond. Let me tell you a race I watched not that long ago. I think it would hurt you to even consider that they were, it was an hour on the track, not even a distance, not even like a 2-mile race or a 5K. It was just, they hit the gun and it's how far can they run in an hour? And you just watch.
What? Have you ever out loud in public remarked on another man's stride length?
Of course. I mean, he's got a short stride, a graceful stride, choppy stride. Of course. Long-legged. You know it. I mean, you don't like real sports. You don't like these authentic sports. They're real.
Look, because I think like most things, we've improved from ancient Greece. If they could have done it in ancient Greece, I'm probably not that interested in it anymore.
What's the wrestling they used to do? Padlick starts with a P. I forget what the name of that was.
I don't know.
So
for a second, I was like Greco-Roman wrestling.
No, I look, whatever. I know I can't watch the Open. So all right.
Well, congratulations to Bryson DeChambeau, the 120th United States Open champion. Only player under par in the field. Only player under par.
Really?
Yes,
Only
Winged Foot's a
player.
very difficult test of golf.
I feel like, though, that's not – if it's going to be that hard, they need to curve the course. I mean, that's not – only one player. Par should be kind of the middle. That should be the mean.
Only one player under par. These are the best golfers in the world.
I understand that. I'm just saying, then they need to ease up the course a little bit. Need to ease up the course a little bit.
You don't want to see the carnage? I mean, not that you're watching anyway, but people tune in for the carnage. This is the United States Open Championship. It should be difficult.
I feel like we've killed this segment.
Well, because you didn't participate fairly. You just disparaged golf and turned everything into a charity outing instead of golf, which most athletes, by the way, will tell you is the most difficult thing they've ever done. They will say that it is the hardest sport that they have ever attempted, but you don't care about that. You just wanted to make some fun about the fact that some rich people play it.
What do you think about the Pac-12? Are they going to play? I'll tell you two things.
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say they're probably not because of the states in which Pac-12 schools are typically located.
There's two things I want to talk about other than this. One is, and I know you've got something. We got something else in the rundown we need to get to.
I do.
So
it's
you
about
cut
money
me off
too, and you know much like that.
There's two things. One is I'm very interested in the Pac-12, and I do think they're going to play. Two is I find during COVID it's really easy. We talk about things that we're watching to get caught up in a movie, like just a random movie, because time, like you say, time's a flat circle, and so it's really. I found myself at midnight the other day watching Starsky and Hutch, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Which one?
The one with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson.
Okay,
it's the only one.
Well,
I mean, I'm not talking
about the old show. Yeah, the old TV show. Yeah.
I'm talking about the movie. That movie is brilliantly funny. Brilliantly funny.
No, it isn't. It just isn't.
That's a bad man. This is what bad people do. He shoots the pony. Happy bar mitzvah, baby.
What do you think is the funniest movie ever made?
22 Jump Street.
Oh, my God.
I'm not wrong.
You saw 22 Jump Street and you were like, move over, Caddyshack.
Yeah.
You were like, get out the way. What about Bob? Like you were like,
you honestly think what about Bob?
I don't want to hear it. Wedding Crashers.
Oh, Wedding Crashers is overrated. It's overrated. How are you?
That's true.
Wait. Let's be clear. Overrated. You are critiquing. You are like looking down at me because I like 22 Jump Street, and you're holding up as the apex Wedding Crashers. I mean, these are from the same genre.
I'm not holding up at the apex. I'm picking movies that are funnier than whatever drivel you're talking about.
22 Jump Street with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum.
If I'm picking funniest movie of recent times, Forgetting Sarah Marshall is my.
No, we've had this conversation. It's overrated.
It's Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
No, Get Him to the Greek is better than Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
It absolutely isn't.
It
absolutely
isn't.
Wrong.
You are absolutely wrong. And I'm going to say, I'm going to say another thing. Starsky and Hutch is a much better movie than a fairly overrated Old School. There it is.
I mean, that's one of the worst takes I've ever heard about anything.
There it is, America, or whatever very small subset of America is watching this show. There it is.
Right, are you one of those people? Do you hate things that are popular? Like if everybody likes something, are you like I can't? No. Overrated. Overrated. Nobody likes Starsky and Hutch. Let me tell you why it's the best.
That is no. I
will listen to any music that's on the radio.
No, you absolutely not. I like Lady Gaga. I like things that are. I have no problem with things that are popular. I have no problem with that.
So just a lack of taste.
I'm not a sheep. I decide what I like based on criteria of quality, and that's what it is. I don't have to be told by other people what to like. You, on the other hand, have been told that Caddyshack is the funniest movie of all time, so therefore you laugh at it. I also like Spaceballs, by the way.
I actually also like Spaceballs. I'm glad we could find some common ground here at the end. Yes.
May I like Schwartz this. Be with you.
Yeah. Your Schwartz is bigger than mine.
I see your Schwartz. Let's see how you handle it.
It's a great movie.
Woo!
Okay, we're running out of time. You need to know that this is the thing that happened. A Giannis signed basketball card sold for $1.8 million this week, setting a record for the highest priced basketball card ever sold. About 5 years ago, that card was previously purchased for $7,000. The person who bought it returned it to the seller who just sold it for $1.8 million. The reason that the $7,000 sale fell through is because the person who bought it looked at the card and doubted that it was in this condition that it was described to be in, because there's a little yellow splotch on the back of it. The card company said, no, that yellow splotch is common in this set. It's supposed to be there. So he returned the $7,000 sale. The person then flipped it 5 years later for $1.8 million. Keith Strudler, is it better to be the person who got the card back at 1.8? Is that significantly better than it is worse to be the person who had it for $7,000 and gave it back?
That's really the low. I mean, that's the low point of your life. when you argued to not have a $1.8 million card.
Yep.
When you fought for the, like, no. This is like the guy's like, look, I don't care what you think Apple's going to become. I'm cashing out my stock right now.
Yeah.
I want
the
my
third
money.
guy in the garage.
I want my money now, right? You give me my $50,000 now. That's the guy, the guy's like, I want out of the Beatles. I want my share of the album sales, and I want out of the Beatles. I think to argue your way out of, first of all, I don't understand spending $7,000 on a card, to be quite honest.
Same.
I mean, I don't understand spending over about a dime on a card. And I assume if I'm spending that much, I'm giving it to my kids. Like, I do not understand. I collected football cards as a kid. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand I have some sports memorabilia behind me. Like, but I don't understand like that card thing. I do not get it. Not at that price point. It doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, no, the guy who won, yes, that he has high highs. His high highs are nowhere near the low lows that are being experienced by the guy who had 1.8 ripped from his cold hands.
That's all the time we've got for this episode of Sportish. Thank you so much for joining us here on For the Fans Network. You can catch archives of this show, by the way, at ftfnext.com a couple days after they post. And the audio version is always available as a podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever it is that you get.
You can get on the app, too. You can watch on demand on the app, too. Just scroll
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's plenty of ways you can find Sportish. The best way to know is to follow us at SportishPod to get updates when new episodes are posted and where you can watch them. For our producer, Mike Wallace, and Dr. Keith Strudler, my name is Geoff Brault. We hope to see you next week. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to Sportish. See you next time.